Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Biblical Mom-alogue podcast. It's me, Michelle, your host. And today we have someone who has been through a lot of life changes, going down one path, and then her life completely took a turn. And now she's going down a completely different path. Have you ever had that happen where you're just going along in one direction and then something happens and your life is changed? Well, I'm really looking forward to talking with my next guest, who is Holly Andrews. She is now a certified integrative nutrition health coach and the founder of Andrews Coaching and Transformation. So, Holly was in uh, the National Security Agency, which was a high stress leadership role for her for 17 years. She was leading advanced AI and machine learning operations. Is that she experienced a personal health crisis in 2019, and that was what became a major turning point in her life. It led her to pursue holistic healing and eventually transition into health coaching. Also, I'm sure she probably has a lot of insights for us today, for us and our families. Today, she helps high achieving professionals and leaders heal chronic stress from the inside out through health, gut health, nervous health, support, and sustainable lifestyle shifts. She's also the author of Heal Your Stress from the Inside Out, which is a practical guide to reclaiming your health and peace. Outside of coaching, Holly is a wife, a mom of two, a lover of Jesus and coffee, and she enjoys gardening, travel, and staying active. I cannot wait for you to hear from our next guest, Holly Andrews. Hey, Holly. Welcome to
Hey,
the Biblical Mom-alogue.
yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, your story is fascinating. So we're going to get to that. But first, since we're believers and, we want to give God glory through our testimony, I think we would love to hear about just a brief testimony of how you got saved. How did Jesus save you?
Well, I was blessed to have two believing parents. And so I grew up in the church and I got saved at a tent revival that happened at our church when I was 4 years old. So
Wow.
I have known Jesus as long as I can remember and, went to a Christian school that was attached to our church. So, I mean, I was there 6 days out of 7 and, you know, didn't realize what a blessing that was at the time. But looking back, I am so grateful for that and being able to see how the Lord just worked in my life, growing up and through school and then into college and afterwards and work. And so that's my story. Obviously, ups and downs and bumps in the road along the way, right? And that's also part of my story. But I have never not known Jesus.
That's incredible. We were actually just talking to our oldest son about that last night, and he was saying that, all these other people have these testimonies where they can point to a specific day and time that they, accepted Christ and their life changed. And he said, I've really always just known Jesus. And we said, what a blessing. So that
Exactly.
is absolute blessing. That's amazing. You've always walked with the Lord. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you had a health crisis that
Yeah.
led you to a major change, like a 180 in your life back in 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah. So, you know, as with most crises, right? They don't just happen, right? They build. Sorry, I'm going to grab some water.
No problem.
Um, they build up, right? So mine was my crisis was really, at the time, what I thought was really just all about weight, right? I had struggled with my weight most of my life, and the lifestyle that I was living, the job that I had, the high stress. I'm married to an airline pilot, so he's gone half of the time. We had 2 little kids. All of that just kind of built and built and built and built. And in spring of 2019, I found myself at like weighing 350 pounds. And we went on spring break. We took our kids on a trip to London. And I love to travel. Like, I've always traveled. I love traveling. Obviously, I'm married to a pilot. Like, we travel a lot. And so I'm not unfamiliar with the amount of walking that happens on those kinds of trips. And we were trying to cram everything into that 1 week in London that we possibly could. But just that normal kind of tourist walking, I was coming back to the hotel and just crying because I was in so much pain. And that's really when I was like, okay, like, this is my rock bottom. I've got to do something about this. But I was having migraines all the time. I wasn't sleeping because all of my joints hurt. Like, now I know what was happening in my body at the time. But then I really just thought, I've got to do something about this weight. And if I could just lose 20 pounds, even then, that would be at least something. I had no faith that I could actually lose most of the weight. I had no concept that I was beginning this journey that's now going on 6 years. And so I reached out to a friend, and she was coaching a program at the time. And I just said, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. I'll eat cardboard. I don't care. Just like, this has got to stop. Because I knew if I didn't, like, I knew I wasn't going to make it to see my kids graduate high school, much less college, get married, all of that. I knew I was headed for a really bad place. And so I went on from there to lose 150 pounds over the next 15 months.
Wow.
And in the process, started coaching what she was coaching at the same time, because it was just so incredible. I'd never experienced anything like that. And I knew I needed to help other people with it. And, during that whole process, not only did my body get better, like my physical body get better, but everything changed for me, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, it really just completely overhauled my life in a way that I didn't expect at all. And so, looking back, I can see all of that now. It wasn't just about the weight. It was about so much more than that.
That's incredible. 150 pounds is an entire person.
It is.
So how long did that take?
It was about 100. It was about 15 months. So it was an average of, it averaged out to be about 10 pounds a month. So, pretty safe average.
I think that's pretty awesome that you had a friend who was already, you said she was coaching?
Yeah.
That's almost like, what a blessing to know somebody that was already doing that, and that you could just be like, hey.
And she was a friend from college. She's experienced a similar kind of transformation. And so, so it was good to have somebody that had gone before, walked that road before. Right. And then I very reluctantly jumped into coaching myself after about a year in. And I fell in love with coaching. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I was familiar with mentor relationships from, work and whatever, but coaching, I think, takes that to a whole nother level. And the actual coaching process, I just fell in love with it, and watching people have their own breakthroughs, their own aha moments, and helping them, guide them to that place. So yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. Did you have times where you were like, this is crazy, I can't do this? Or was it one of those things where you felt like, I'm already feeling so much better, I can't stop now? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. And I think it was a combination of both, right? There were definitely times when I would only lose half a pound that week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so frustrated. But
Yeah.
then I would stop, like my part of the coaching relationship, she would say, hey, look how far you've come. Like, you might still have so far to go, but like, look how far you've come. Look how much better you feel. I mean, within just a few weeks of making some changes, my energy had started to skyrocket and I could get off the couch again. I think we'll talk about, parenting issues here in a little bit, but like I could get off the couch again and I got back out in my garden again and I started going for walks with my kids. And some of that, the brain fog started to lift.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, really, when I say it was a whole life transformation, it was a whole life transformation. But there were absolutely times when it was frustrating. And then there were times when it was like, I can't quit. This is too good. This is too good.
Did you find that the Lord helped you through that process? Like, was there, scripture or anything that you were able to draw from that, like as far as the comfort or just the hope that we have in Him? Was there anything specifically that sort of helped you through that?
Yeah. I'll say, not necessarily at the beginning, but I do believe it was the Holy Spirit prompting me to finally like just surrender, like just stop trying to do it on my own, stop trying to white knuckle it through, because like most people, I had done every weight loss program under the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was doing it in my own power, like trying to I'm very type A, I'm very driven, and it's like, I'm going to power through this and I'm going to do it. And so I do believe it was the Holy Spirit though, that, was nudging me and just said, look, you just gotta let go, like let go, jump in, trust me. And so I did. And I had been in a very kind of, I guess I would say, a spiritual desert for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Up until that point, I was so stressed with my job and our life situation. I was so, completely overwhelmed, totally kind of tuned out. I wasn't in a place where I could be still and know, right? I wasn't in a place where I was even attempting to listen for the Lord and His guidance, honestly. There were weeks and months when I was so tired and so exhausted that we skipped church because I just couldn't deal with trying to get the kids and me to church. But as my physical body started to heal, everything else started to heal along with that, right? Like I said, the brain fog started to lift.
Mm-hmm.
And I started eventually like realizing like, okay, I'm not in a healthy place spiritually. I mean, I knew I wasn't in a healthy place, but
Yeah.
I didn't have the capacity to address that issue. And so as the physical body healed, as the emotional and the mental stuff started to fall in place, the spiritual came along with it. And there were relationships that needed to be healed with some people at church. And that happened as we started going back to church. And I eventually resigned from my job with the government, and we moved to North Carolina. And God has just continued to, as I have continued on my own healing journey and my own health journey, the Lord has just led me into a wonderful place where I am growing, and I have a wonderful relationship with the Lord now. I'm in the Word daily, which was not something I could have said 6 years ago. And in wonderful relationships with fellow Christian ladies and in Bible studies. And it's been amazing to watch how He has moved me out of that spiritual desert into, truly like springs of water of life, and being able to give that back to other people.
Were you completely blown away by how all of those things were connected once you started that process where you're like, "Oh my goodness, my brain fog is better. My joints don't hurt. My" that spiritually you were reading the word more, and was that shocking to you, like, how all those things were connected, or was it more like one thing at a time was falling
I
into
think
place? Does that make sense?
it does. It does. As I was in it, it felt more like one thing at a time was kind of falling into place. As I reflect and look back, I can see that I am surprised. I am surprised at how they're all interconnected. And as I've gone on to get a health coaching certification in integrative nutrition and done a lot of research on stress and how that impacts our bodies and what it does, and the connection between our gut and our brain, and how if we're not feeding our gut, what it needs, what the nourishment it needs, then it can't make those hormones that we need, like serotonin and dopamine and the other things like that. So our brain really can't be healthy if our gut's not healthy. And that means then that's where the brain fog comes in, and the anxiety and the depression and all of that. And that blocks then, I think, at least for me, that's my experience, it blocks our ability to hear the Lord and really grow in that relationship with him. And so, as I look back on it, there's a lot of connections that I didn't see at the time, and it did surprise me.
I always find that so interesting. Like, just, I like to walk. I used to run, but I like to walk now because the older we get, the harder it
Yeah.
is on joints. So I'll just, go for walks. And it's amazing how your mental health, just like your mind, feels just so much more, I don't want to say clear, but less foggy after
Yeah.
a good walk. And it could just be the fresh air, time away from your house and your life, even if the family is with you. It's amazing how that fresh air can do so much good, even if you're walking inside. I found that I, always love to be out, but even walking like on a walking pad or a
Mm-hmm.
treadmill, just that movement and getting out of the comfort zone sort of thing,
No,
it
it's
is
it's
incredible.
it's 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 physiological. I mean, the response that response is physiological. Like your body is using that movement as the ability to engage your parasympathetic nervous system. So that's your rest and digest nervous system. And so it absolutely is. There is actually science behind that and why that works so well.
That's that's really interesting, and we live in such a sedentary culture now where so many of us have jobs. I mean, I work from home. I'm at a desk all day,
Yeah.
and if you go from the desk to the couch, there's no movement. And just always feels like we were not designed to do this.
Right.
So the physiological side really makes sense when you think about
Yeah.
that we could not have been created for this. So i- incredible weight loss. That congratulations. I don't know if I said that yet, but that is so amazing. When you were at the beginning of the whole process, was there one thing that helped you? Was there one thing you could do, like, each day or every couple days, that worked? Like, my husband and I lost weight several years ago, and one of the things we did was we used to drink sweet tea like fools. Like, our
Mm-hmm.
moms are both from North Carolina, so even though we live in Ohio, we grew up on sweet tea.
Sweet
So we
tea.
would just hit that McDonald's and be getting us a sweet tea, and we just had all kinds of weight we had to lose. So one of the things
Yeah.
we did was we just switched to unsweet. We
Mm-hmm.
still had the tea, there was 0 sugar. So was there, like, anything like that that just, "Okay, I can do this. This is something I can do every day," that worked?
Yeah. I'm in North Carolina, so I know exactly what you mean about that sweet tea.
Yay.
Um, so in the beginning, I think, a few different things I could say. I I honestly up until that point, I was living on, we had a Starbucks at work, and I was truly living on like 2, sometimes 3 venti Starbucks mochas. That was my liquid, right?
I
I
love
did not
those
drink
things.
water. Um, I would get it with skim milk, so therefore it was okay and like healthier, right? Um, but I wasn't paying attention to the sugar content. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I wasn't drinking water. And so the minute, like, I kind of went cold turkey on giving those up. And so I reduced my sugar intake by a lot and
Yeah.
increased my water intake. And I think, just upping my water and decreasing my sugar by even that much was a huge, huge benefit, right? Our body, we need water. Like there's so many reasons. And in fact, I just recently saw a study that if you're stressed already and you're dehydrated, anytime you get increased stress and your cortisol kicks in, you get the dehydration causes the cortisol spike to be even worse. So just that correlation was something I found really interesting. So I can't even imagine what my cortisol looked like during those years. But so absolutely, I mean, water is just kind of a must have. Switching to water away from the sugary. I still had coffee. Let's be honest. I wasn't giving up coffee, but I gave up the sugary mocha drinks. And I think just eating regularly, like eating regular meals. Up until that point, it had been skipping breakfast, grabbing whatever was either on our snack table in our office or whatever was in the cafeteria. And let's be honest, cafeteria food is almost never going to be good for you.
I've done that.
Right. And then I didn't have 2 brain cells to rub together most nights to think about dinner or any kind of like remembering even to like thaw some chicken or some ground beef so that I could even potentially make dinner. Like there were so many nights I would come home from work and like if my husband happened to be home, he would look at me and be like, "What's for dinner?" And I'm looking at him like, "I don't know. I just don't know. Like either we're going out or you're getting takeout or whatever it was." And I mean, we wound up eating out a lot during those years before like I kind of woke up. We eventually got into a system where if he was home and not flying, he was in charge of dinner. And so
That's good.
that took a lot of the pressure off of me, at least when he was home. And so that was really beneficial. But I'd say just, learning to eat regularly and not pick at whatever was available, whatever candy was available, or, somebody had brought in homemade whatever that was on the snack table and not going out all of the time. I mean, we still go out a lot, let's be honest, but, not nearly as much as we did. And so I think some of those kinds of changes were instrumental in helping with the weight loss process, but also just feeding my body better.
I can relate to everything you were saying. I used to work in an office and they had a cafeteria. And if I didn't hit Starbucks in the morning to get, the bread is so good, like the lemon loaf. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
So I was getting like a lemon loaf and then coffee with a shot of peppermint cream and
Mm-hmm.
sugar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So same thing. And then we would bring in the office I worked in. We just had thought we needed to eat all day.
Oh
So
yeah.
we'd bring in chips and dips and meat and cheese trays. And
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was actually doing to myself, but I felt so wasted and lethargic by the time I got home from work. And then I'd pick up the kids and it was, you know, similar thing. If you forgot to set out meat in the morning, then we would rush around and try to figure out what to eat. So, my husband was here, but still, I was the one that was supposed to be sort of responsible for that. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are probably a lot of other people that can relate to what you're saying, and maybe in that situation right now where it's just the convenience outweighs, because of the stress of work
Mhm.
and home life. It just there's times where you do have to do what's easiest, but to realize that it's not gonna work in the long term
Right.
is it's really eye-opening. It really is.
It is.
It's
It
like,
absolutely
"Oh."
is.
Yeah,
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, because and even when, you know, I made the changes and we were the kids were in karate and David, my husband, was gone. And it was I actually can't make dinner at home because schedules. Then we're running through Chick-fil-A, but instead of getting the sandwich and fries, I'm getting the grilled nuggets and a salad, or,
Mhm.
whatever, the kale salad, whatever they had at the time, right? So, um, I was still able to eat out and do the fast food thing, but I was just making the smarter choices and feeling so much better because of it.
Yeah. That kale salad is pretty good.
It is. It
It
is
is.
really.
And I love their grilled nuggets. Those are a staple for me.
Mhm.
Um, if you were talking to someone, a friend who was like where you were at the beginning, like were feeling all stressed and just like we were just talking about, like life is so busy and it can be so hard. And obviously, you know, we have to acknowledge that it's not easy. And they feel like, they know changes need to be made, but it's just one more thing.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah. I mean, first I would say they're not alone. There have got to be so many, so many women who deal with this. Um, I know former colleagues that are still in situations like this where they're working and they're stressed, or they're home and they're stressed because they're responsible for everything. And
Mhm.
so just first know you're not alone. You're absolutely not. You're not alone in the fact that you're not the only one going through it, but you're not alone because God is there. Even if you don't feel like it, He's still there. Um, Second, I would say start with something small, something super small, right? That's one thing that I like to work with my coaching clients on, is where I don't like the idea of trying to just go all in and make all the changes all at once. It's not sustainable, and then you haven't figured out what actually works for you in your life, because then it does become that just one more thing to do and one more box to
Mhm.
check, and that doesn't work. Um, so start with something small. That could be, you know, making sure you take your water bottle with you and drink at least 64 ounces of water a day, right? And I've got all kinds of tips and tricks on how to get your water in, but get your water in, or swap one coffee drink or one can of soda for a water, right? I mean, it can be super small. It could be going for an after dinner walk, even 5 to 10 minutes. Just that, in addition to the mental clarity that we were talking about that we feel by walking, right? A post meal walk for 5 or 10 minutes actually helps stabilize blood sugar and prevent blood sugar spikes. Which, if you
Amazing.
don't know, when your blood sugar spikes, your cortisol also spikes. So it's causing internal stress on your body. Or, it could be, one of the changes that I made was in the morning when I wake up, I immediately pop in my earbuds and I listen to the Bible app. And that's my immediate thing in the morning. And I listen to the passages for that day, and then I listen to the podcast that goes with that plan for that day. And so even if I'm still laying in bed and I'm not quite necessarily fully awake, I am immediately in the Word before anything else happens that day. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at social media or anything like that. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do, but just start small. Start small, make one simple change, one simple step. And if you can do that consistently for 2 weeks, not necessarily perfectly, but consistently. If you can do that consistently for 2 weeks, you know that that is a habit that will fit with your life. And if it's not working, if you can't do it consistently, then that's not the right habit for you at this time. So tweak it or find something else that you can stick with for 2 weeks.
That's good rule of thumb that you try it for 2 weeks, and if you can't, you're finding that you just cannot do it consistently, then move on to something else. I
Yeah.
think we put so many expectations on selves.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with me that I can't drink my water every day, or like I log my calories in my Fitness Pal
Mm-hmm.
still. I mean, we started using that, oh gosh, I want to say 2016 when one of our boys was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We used it to look up carbs because he was on insulin injections. And
Yeah.
that from there, my husband and I went on to lose weight and tried to get ourselves in shape because we thought, my goodness, he can't do anything about his diabetes, but we can. So that's one thing I've been able to do consistently, kind of.
Yeah.
It just stuck. Like, I still do it.
I do
So
too.
I love
I do
that
too.
if this thing doesn't work, like, don't beat yourself up over it. Try something else that's small
Yeah.
and see how
It's
that goes.
if anybody needs a permission slip, here it is, right? Like, this is your permission slip. Like, don't beat yourself up and don't try to stick with something that's not working. Life is complicated enough. Like, there is something that will work for you. It's just a matter of figuring out what that is. And so, and that, again, that's a lot of the things that I work with my clients on, is figuring out, okay, what is it that is actually going to work for you in this season of life? And just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and vice versa. So really, like, that's kind of the key. Find what's going to work for you. And it may not work forever. That's another thing, right? Like, your seasons change. And so something that has worked for the last 3 years for you may suddenly no longer work. And that's okay too. So,
Did your family notice the changes, your husband and your kids, and how did they respond?
oh
Were they,
yeah,
like, supportive of, "Hey, mom's going for a walk again"? Were they supportive, or
they were very supportive. When I approached my husband about working with this coach, he very much knew that I was in trouble. And he was just like, look, you do whatever you need to do, and I'm here to support you for it. I don't think he or the kids expected the change that happened in me either. But, you know, not, I tell the story in my book about, I yelled. I yelled all of the time at my kids and at my husband. And I gave everything I had to my job, and I would come home and have nothing left over. And I was just angry. I was angry all the time. And when I sat down, after we moved to North Carolina, I sat down and I talked to my kids. I said, okay, tell me, like, what do you remember? And I was like, just be honest. It's okay. Like, I know I wasn't in a good space back then. And they're like, yeah, we just remember you were angry mom. And I said, and am I still angry mom? And they're like, no. And my son would actually spend time down in our basement just to try to stay out of the angry and the yelling. And that changed, right? Everything changed. My relationship with my husband changed. We had become, honestly, like roommates and ships passing in the night. And it had become all about the logistics of, okay, when he's home, it's the kids have to go here, they have to be here, and we need to do this. And it was just all logistics and, really, honestly, no relationship. We might go away once a year, maybe twice a year, but that was it. And even those trips were tense because I was so unhealthy. I was so mentally not there. But now, you know, I can't even begin to tell you like the change. Like I love him so much and we are true partners now and we have true relationship now. And, you know, resigning from my job was the best thing that I could have done aside from losing the weight for my mental health, my emotional health, and our relationship and being able to care for the kids in a way that they actually deserve and have a relationship with my husband in the way that we deserve to have together. It's just been phenomenal, like complete 180.
That's amazing. And it's wonderful that they were so supportive and that your husband said just to do whatever you need to do. Cause I know just thinking like as a wife and mom, we worry about everyone else and, we'll say, well, I know I need to do this, but I don't want to take from them. So it's, what a comfort to have him say, just go ahead, do whatever you need to do. And then, that probably took a lot of worry off of your plate and a lot of additional stress that you
Yeah,
already had enough of, right?
it did. It did. He was
So,
definitely my biggest supporter, my biggest cheerleader throughout the whole process. And even when it came time for when I realized that I needed to resign from my job, that was a huge change. I loved my job. I never thought I would ever leave that job. I loved my team. And when I finally told him, I was like, because I'll just say, if you don't know anything about the airline industry, pilots don't get paid very well. They don't get paid the big bucks until they've been there for many, many, many years, right? So like my salary was important. And I was the main breadwinner for most of our marriage up until that point. And so for me to tell him, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's killing me. It's literally like physically killing me. And I've got to leave. And for him to say, yes, you do. And it's okay. We'll figure it out.
mhm.
Was just a huge blessing. And, a God thing within less than a year of me resigning and us moving, God had replaced my income in his. And so, just that trusting the Lord to provide, and he did.
Mhm.
And he did.
And he put you in a position where family could be first.
Yes. Yeah,
And that's what's, most important
absolutely.
anyway. And so what a blessing. I'm so glad that everything worked out that way and that, he was such a huge supporter. I
Yeah.
was just thinking about moms who may be out there like trying to take steps on their own and not sure, like, am I doing the right thing? I know that you provide coaching, but are there like support groups that you'd recommend or are there resources? I can definitely link anything down below so people can access those.
Yeah. I mean, they can obviously follow me on social media. I give stress management tips and things like that. And I'm starting next month. I will be launching an online community that they could, participate in for, help with all things stress or cortisol or, you name it. So that's exciting that's coming, and I'm excited to share that. So that'll be out mid-September. So I don't know when this podcast is going to launch, so it might be out already, but there are all kinds of resources online, but I'm trying to think if I could point to any specifically. But there's also a lot of, I think, Dr. Will Cole. I like Dr. Will Cole, so you could follow Dr. Will Cole on the socials. There's another, I'm trying to think who. Who is it? I think Dr. Mark Hyman is another good one.
Okay.
They're both functional medicine providers, and they provide a lot of good information online. So I would trust them. There's a lot of people out there that are also just trying to make a dollar too.
Yeah.
So, you have to have some discernment there. Um, but does that answer your question?
It does. That is so helpful. I will post those. I will put their information in the
Yeah.
description box, and I will also go find them for myself and follow them as well.
Yeah.
Um, this is kind of something we didn't talk about previously, but I was just thinking like I'm at the menopausal stage of life, and some other people listening may either be in perimenopause or menopause.
Mhm.
And there's just so many things that just basically hit you all at once
Right.
or even gradually, but it just feels like a flood of all of these things changed and everything just stopped. Like, um, do you provide, I guess, resources for that, like in your coaching, or are there, you know, places you would send people for information on menopause? I know I myself have looked, and there's a lot of stuff out there, and there's also conflicting information, and
Yeah.
it's like, wait, like you said about being discerning for, nutrition and health. I feel like the same is probably true for menopause, and it's one of those things that finally people are starting to talk about it more,
Right.
but it always just seems like it's, kind of brushed under the carpet. Nobody really
Right.
wants to go there.
Yeah. I don't provide specific resources. That's not the focus of my coaching. Although if somebody came to me and they were, in the middle of that, I would certainly do the research to help. But I would point people towards, if they can, a functional medicine provider in their area.
Mhm.
They're going to be the ones that are typically the most educated and the most, open to, what to listen to what's going on in individual bodies. I think that's probably one of the biggest frustrations, is that doctors don't listen and they don't treat individuals as individuals. So if that's an option, functional medicine is where I would start. I was trying to think. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you, so you can post it in the notes. But
Absolutely.
there is a doctor on Instagram who talks very openly and honestly about menopause, and um, several people I know like her, trust her, and I will get you her name, and her account,
Thank you.
so that would
Thank
be
you.
another one that I would recommend.
And we'll link her as well. That's so helpful. When it comes to, health and nutrition, there's so much out there, and it can be overwhelming. So I really appreciate the resources, and that'll hopefully help point us all in a good direction. I guess just sort of a couple last
Mhm.
questions in regards to being a mom. If we're working on our own
Mhm.
health and nutrition, what would be some things that we could do to encourage our kids to um, sort of eat healthier, move a little more, just kind of consider their overall health? I'm talking from a mom of boys who are almost 21, and then I have twins who are 16. So we're in that
Okay.
teenage phase of life where you know how it is.
I do. I
I
have
just eat.
I have a 16-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl, so
Uh-huh.
we are right there. Um, I'd say the first thing is model it. Model it for them. I mean, they key in on what you do much more than what you say. They're watching, and so, and they're listening too. If they hear you talk a certain way about yourself, they pick up on that. If they hear you talk a certain way about food, they're going to pick up on that as well. So model for them what you want them to do. I think is key, as with any. I mean, that's just a basic leadership principle. And as moms, we're leaders, and so model that for your kids. Get them involved. My daughter loves to get in the kitchen with me. And so she'll get in there and she'll ask if she can do certain steps of recipes. And so if you can get them involved in cooking or baking or whatever it is and teaching them, like, I'm adding chicken for the protein because protein helps build muscle. And we're putting in, the green veggies because green veggies give us vitamins and nutrients that our bodies need to be strong. And it gives us the fiber that we need to help our bodies detoxify and get rid of the junk that we don't need out of our bodies. And teach them, like, and I'm adding olive oil to this recipe because we need healthy fats. I think that was a message that probably our generation totally missed, right? Fat was bad.
Yes.
Everything was low fat. And I remember those like Snackwell cookies that were low fat. And
Me too.
they were only 1 point, right? And so you could eat a whole bunch of them, but obviously I won't go down that rabbit hole. But I'm just saying, like, if you can teach them like the building blocks of a healthy meal, the protein, the healthy fats, the complex carbohydrates, either from greens or root vegetables or like a whole grain, right? Why you're making this meal the way that you're making it, because you want them to be strong and healthy. So get them involved in that if that is something that they enjoy, and make it fun, right? Like a treat every once in a while. Like I know that there are some people that are like, that don't do that, and that's fine. If that works for them, that's totally fine. But to me, that's just not realistic. So, make it an every once in a while thing. Or for me, I like to have a rule that, like, if we're on vacation in Italy, I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat because I can't access it in the US, right? So if there's a special dish or there's a special dessert or a special pastry or you name it, that I can't readily get if I wanted to run down to the local drugstore and pick a candy bar, right? Like, I will enjoy that. And I will tell them, I'm going to enjoy this, but it's not my everyday, right? So I think the more that you can involve them in the conversation and talk to them about how food is a blessing and like God made our bodies to consume food for energy, and what we put in our bodies, it's kind of like code for our computer, right? That food is the code that is coding and programming our body's cells and how our bodies are going to function. If you can talk to them in ways that they get it, then I think we've gone a long way into helping them become healthy humans.
That's great advice. The modeling, especially, monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly.
That's what my parents used to always say. And there is a lot of truth to that. And I know for a fact when we keep certain snacks, we don't buy certain things, they'll eat what we do buy. So, if we are buying like I love those Boulder potato chips. They don't have any seed oils or anything in them, and I can feel good about if they want chips in their lunch or they want a little snack, they're not putting all these harmful chemicals in their body. So we switched a lot of our stuff. Now, every now and then I'll get them the purple Doritos because they love them. And, you can't, like you said, you can't take everything away, but there is definitely, I think that's great advice to just model what we want them to pick up on and take with them. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time. This has been so helpful. I could ask you like 50 million more questions, but I will, I will just end it here with the title of your book is Heal Your Stress from the Inside Out. And that is available
looks like this
on, okay, I can't wait to get my copy, by the way, and Amazon.
It's paperback and Kindle, so you can get either version.
Great. I will put that link also in this description so that everyone can check that out. And again, thank you so much for coming on today, for your insight and for your story.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.